So welcome to the shop, the photo shop. Now, I'm going to have a little chat with you guys about having a chat with the customers. And we have this lovely family here, and as a good example of just hanging out with the customers and doing some photos, because I have to get around to that repeatedly through this teaching of the art of portrait photography, because it will be a complete illusion for you guys to think that people will just walk in your studio and then just all of a sudden act naturally, or you would sit there, wait for them to act naturally, and then like a hunter in the forest sitting there waiting, all of a sudden you see your picture and then you shoot. That's not how it works. I'm afraid it's not. You are part of the recipe. Your behavior and what you do is key. And you gotta like people. I mean, if you don't like people, this is probably a bit rough, but you should not try to be a portrait photographer, because at least you should be very curious about people, because it's like you have a very direct communication to people. So if you're not interested in them, they will feel it. It's not enough to be able to take sharp photos, okay? So if you're not interested in people, quit portrait photography. You might say, that's a bit rough, but I actually had to fire people who worked for me as portrait photographers. As a one-time had 10 photographers working for me, and some of them were very good technically. They knew their stuff, and they had a good idea about composition, and they had excellent ideas about I mean, how the picture should be, but only people didn't do what they wanted them to do, and they had no idea about how to achieve that. But portrait photography is something which happens when people are having a nice time somehow, and are putting their pressure off and being relaxed. You know, it's key. So that is what you need people to do. You need to do your technical stuff, the lighting and so on, but above all, you need to have your people getting very relaxed. Now, at the end of a photo session, no, not a photo session, a Photoshop session, which is something I do on my office, I do a test. I do this thing that I have the edited photo, and then I have the raw photo. I do that by having a group. You can see there's a lot of layers over here in the right corner, the lower left right corner of the screen right now. There's a lot of levels, and they're all collected in a group. So if I press the group, it all disappears and we get the original photo. And you can actually see this was a photo where there was absolutely not enough light at all. It's not perfect at all. So that requires a little bit of work afterwards. And you can see the only place where the lighting is correct here is in in this lady's hair over here and on this shoulder here. So the main light is not right. It doesn't matter in a sense so much, because you can do a lot in editing, but when you do this and it's a little bit underexposed, then when you bring it up in Photoshop, you will often get something which looks like old black and white photography. It will be a little bit grainy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a nice effect. Now let's go close to this guy, and you see that there is actually a bit of graininess, and that's I kind of like that effect. It looks like old-time black and white photography. So you see there's a little bit of grains, and it looks like a very traditional black and white photography. So no harm done. So what else do we have? Then this is the very usual thing. You have the grandparents here, and then you have their kids with their spouses, and the grandkids, and the dog. And let's look on the... So this is sort of like a quality check. I look, this is actually an important step where I actually do this thing. I look at all faces and look like, did anything weird happen? Did anything weird happen? Actually, I sort of think that this arm down here in the middle could stand a little bit more light. So let's just do that. This is like the last part of the photo, where I just do very small things. Just like, is there anything which I think should... It's just because I compared this hand to that hand, and then I thought I could stand a little bit more light. Actually, I'm not sure that it maybe could stand a little bit on that finger and so on. Small things, but it's just small things. But a lot of small things add up to a big thing, right? And here I noticed that this is actually a little bit wrong. There's some light here on the shirt. Wonder where that is coming from. But did I just do that? Is this just an error I have made? Then I will just quickly make it disappear again. Okay. Good. One last test. Anything looking weird? You can see that it's actually quite impressive what is hiding in the shadows here. If you look at the dog, it's almost completely gone here, and here it's actually all the features are back. So Photoshop is an amazing savior, but here it just the underexposure is actually making a sort of a little bit like an old-time photography. So it takes a little bit of time to do that back and forth when it's underexposed. So I could have saved myself some time by making a little bit more precise than the beginning photo. Okay, let's look at the next photo. And we do the same thing. We just check how it looked before. And you see there's two head changes. And when you evaluate a head change, you just look like it should be like the head is just moving a little bit, and it should look like it's sort of natural. And that's okay. Good. And let me just quickly check. Yes, there is two heads. I will just quickly check a little bit. I just want to be sure that it doesn't look odd. Anything looking odd? For a moment I thought this line, these two lines here were maybe something left from editing, but I can see that she has them before, so I'm not going to touch those. Let's look at the guy. See if there's anything odd. Yeah, there is something odd. There is an extra, there's a little bit left over from the old. You can see there's a little bit sort of like there's something funny there, right? There's a extra something, so I have to find out where is that coming from. The layers are covering up each other. I can also just be the lazy part. The lazy way to do it is to take there is an error there, and I could find out where is the error coming from, and I could remove it there. But I can also do the lazy part. Is just, if it takes too long time to find out on which layer the error is, I will just find a layer which is on top, one of the top layers here, and then I will just correct it. That's just as easy. So see, there was an error, so let's just do a check again, see if it passes. You have to do sort of like a quality check of your stuff. You have to see that there's not something odd happening. It looks acceptable now. Okay, good. I was going to say something about asking people stuff. You know, sometimes people are there, and I do have a very honest conversation with them about life. And sometimes you have that people are quite brave, and you can feel that they're being very honest. They're just having a ball. They're just joking and relaxing and doing sorts of things. And I'll demonstrate that because the last photo is a good example of people just having fun. I mean, the two guys, was joking around, and they were just saying, okay, and we do something. We can do. I think he was pretending to be a kid and sitting on top of the other guy, whatever. And all sorts of jokes were just flying through the air. And then obviously I would say, let's just shoot that. Why not? And it became part of what they wanted to have on their walls. And that's super cool when that happens. Then that something happens in them. Usually, I would say, the odd things are happening with the kids. They're doing something odd, and then you say, well, thank you. Not planned, but very good. A very nice contribution to the photography and so on. So people are not necessarily supposed to do what I tell them to do. They're just supposed to have fun and be close, okay? But these guys were really doing just that. So I would say big kids and having good fun. Now, here you have this one actually gives a little bit of the illusion of that the man carries the whole family on the back, and it's just done by having the man go down on his knees, and that's all. And that usually makes for a very nice family hug, where it's all sort of like a little bit magic, because it has that sort of graphic effect of the father carrying the whole family. Let's check it. Let's see what happens here. Oh, so there's two things here. There is a head change, and there is a chin lift. A chin lift, let's check that one out. So a chin lift has to be, it only has to lift, it actually have to maintain the jawline completely like it is, and you just have to remove that skin down there. Let's see if I managed to do that correctly. Yes, it pulled it up nicely. I will make another video where I show how to do that. But this right now is just like, I want to show this step, which is sort of like the finishing up of the photo, where we check to see if all is good. And there's something odd here. I don't think that's meant to be so. I think that's a bit odd. So I remove that. I I take a clone tool and I make it sort of like semi hard in the edge. I put the opacity 100%. I want to just do it in one fast move. The background is the same, so I'll be able to clone very precisely from probably, let's take here, and I'll select it and just go, oops. And if you want to be absolutely perfect, we can see that there is still something left there. That's going into the very fine pixels to see. I mean, this is a 50 megapixel picture, so this is probably overkill. I mean, but now it is completely gone. All evidence removed. This is the perfect crime scene. So you can see that if we go in here, whatever it is it's gone. And we can see it's there and it's gone. Good. And anything else we should check? Did I do anything? Yeah. I moved a little bit of dirt down here and I did something on the foot there. You can see there was something there. That's all good. So right now it just looks normal. There isn't anything odd, and that's what you're looking for. Did I check the head? I just check it again. Yeah, it looks. I mean, it doesn't have to. We're not looking for 100% perfection. We're looking for it looks real. Now and again, I have had people, if I did something like move a head or move a chin or whatever, sometimes people know that I've been editing on a photo, and then they would say, well, there's something wrong with my this and that, and then I can sort of like reveal to them, I haven't touched your head. But if people know you're editing, they will actually tend to find weird things, which are not weird things. Basically, it's just how they look. I noticed something, not really something as an error, but there's a nice effect you can use here, which is just like you take levels and I'm looking at this woman's hair here, and I'm just gonna see if I can put a little bit of shine into it. So I'm doing something horrible to the rest of the picture, but I'm only looking at her hair to see when it looks sort of like nice here, something like that. And then I would use this effect to give her a little bit of like a little bit of an hair effect. Let's see how it works. It's just so that I think she'd probably like that. I managed to overdo it a little bit, so I will remove what I did out here. And you can see this little correction was just like, okay, it just brings a little bit of, you probably could have done that by lighting. If you placed a certain light extra but then you had to not have it hit the face and so on. So it's just a little bit of a Photoshop effect. So I think that was that. And now and again you have these punchlines, these one-liners. I guess if you know, asking a girl out, there's certain things which are successful for some people, and they use it and they use it and they use it. And I have certain things I do if I want people to react and so on, and in if you ask these guys here, you say, okay, so is there anything you really like to eat for dinner? If you're all gonna agree on something, what is it gonna be? And it's sort of like, oh, I'm curious. It's a little bit. It's nice talking about food, and and they will instantly start going, and they will think about food, and they will get that little extra feel of having a nice time, and that is likely to bring out a smile. And I know I have already brought up the light on her face, but I am a little bit curious if I can bring it up just a touch more. So I'm activating a curves layer here, and I'm just gonna see if I can shine a little bit of light on her face, just a little bit. Is that too much? Let's go to the total. I think it's a little bit too much. So I select the level and I go on blending, and then I will just see where is it. It's sort of like there. Done. So there was just a little bit of extra light, not much, just a little bit. Boom, done. At some point you have to stop, because now I'm looking at the kid and I'm going, maybe he should have a little bit too. Not much, just a little bit. Fine. Done. Let's do the check again. I'll take the whole group, turn it up, turn it on. Actually, I want my finished photo to look, I don't know if that was too much. Was it too much? This lighting? Maybe it was a little bit too much. I'm gonna turn it a little bit down again. Okay. I'm gonna leave it like that. You have to find a place where you stop and going back and forth and back and forth and so on. Also, there is of course a limit to how much time you can use on one photo before it becomes unprofitable for you as a photographer, because you can use hours on one photo. So you shouldn't do that. You should use some time, and sometimes you have to use a lot of time because you made it difficult for yourself by the underexposed photo I showed in the beginning. This one is not as such underexposed. There's a little bit of lighting issues, but that is because the boy's head is making a shadow on the mom's face, which I had to fix. And a face change and some things here. But it wasn't a big edit, it was just a medium edit. Alright, so in conclusion, there's things you can talk about with customers which will bring out a better mood. Food is one which is very safe. You can always ask that. Okay, so give me 3 dishes which you will like. I want a starter, I want a main course, I want a dessert. What's it gonna be? And if they don't make a choice, I will throw in something horrible. I say, all right, it's gonna be worms with ketchup, and spaghetti with horse hair, or ice with very nice red snails on, or whatever, something. So there's some punishment if they don't answer fast, and that also brings out a smile or two, because the kids think I'm disgusting, and the parents do probably also, but that's all in a good spirit. So one-liners is things you find out you can say to people, or topics you can talk to them about, which is rather safe. but sometimes, especially if you're doing, if for some reason you have that the reason for this photo is a very sensitive reason. There's one of the people present who's going to die very soon, and they all know it, and this is the reason why they have this photo taken. Of course, this is sort of like a very, you're performing a service, and you're also showing a lot of respect for this, what they're doing, and so on. And you actually, I wouldn't say you ignore the reason why they're here and so on, but you, it is part of it, and it's just be very honest with whatever you are performing, and you have to be willing for people to have emotions also, because very often in a portrait session there is emotions, because it is emotional. It's not all kids who are crying now and again. Kids are crying a lot of the time because they don't want to do that, or they hit each other or something, whatever. But there's also adults crying and showing emotions and so on. I don't get a lot of anger, but I do get a lot of emotions, like people, and the reason why people cry, I should say, is actually because it's just something which is happening during the photo session which is really important for them, and they see that we have succeeded in making a really good photo. It can also be people who has never had a good portrait taken, and then really like that, wow, I now know that I can look like that, thank you. And that can be very emotional and so on. But the verbal part of what you do as a photographer is extremely important. You should make it, and I mean, I remember when I was a kid going to the hairdresser, I started noticing this thing that the hairdresser is a very sort of like just talking and asking stuff about life and so on, and some of them are very good at it. I think you go to the you can go to the hairdresser and get a free therapy session something like that. Maybe you can go to your photographer and have a free therapy session. It's all good. The important thing is that when you're there, it's a safe space for these people to be there, in a sense. I don't know if I make myself really understood here, but to go to the photographer is an important thing, is an important place to be, because there is something important happening, but it should also be something very relaxed, and the atmosphere should be very, very friendly and not too professional. I mean, I sometimes say things to people which are something I personally think is important or whatever. I'm not shying away from in a sense showing emotions also, or at least be very, very honest, or at least be very, very curious, or at least be very, very real. I think that's extremely important. I mean, if you want people to give something, you have to also be willing to give something yourself. It's not like you come in and you just expect them to be completely relaxed and personal and show who they really are. If you are there totally not there and not being present and so on, you have to really be there and observe everything and be totally willing to see small things which are not in a way nice. If people sometimes come in and I can see they've had a hard time, or there's something there, I I'm not shying away from observing it, but I'm not staring it down. I want to talk a little bit about that because, for instance, if a person is, let's say it's a pregnancy photo and a woman is taking off their clothes and the husband is also present, and that could be an awkward situation. Yeah. So how do you do that? I usually maintain my eye contact. I don't stare, but I don't not stare. I mean, it's a thing which is a little bit sort of interesting, because if you're all sort of like shy and not looking, that's wrong. But if you're going whoa and you're sort of like reacting to the nudity, that's also wrong. But it's just there, and you just deal with it. And you go, oh, you should get a little bit closer, put your hands there, and we don't want to show your breast too much because it's not part of the pregnancy. So we should put that into your husband could put your arms around her and so on. So we can't see that. So we just talk about what's there, and it's a very honest approach, even though it's sort of like sensitive in a way. So be real. I think that is how I'm gonna phrase it today. But I will touch upon this thing about having something real going on, because a portrait is about getting real and getting them to really be there, and really be there as they are, and capture that precious moment. Also because then they can see themselves, maybe sounds a little bit maybe overdone here, but see themselves for the first time in a while at least. So that's a mission for the photographer to achieve that. Okay, I'm rambling along, am I not? I guess I am. Anyway, thank you for sticking around and listening, if you are listening still. If you're not doing something else and the video is just running in the background without any sound, thank you for hearing me out here. And if you did like it and you thought, okay, this is kind of important and so on, you should definitely like the video, and you should definitely also, if you're not already a subscriber on the channel, you should do that, because I think what I'm going to go into on this channel is not purely photography. It is also about people. Okay, so it is sort of like, in a sense, for everyone. I wasn't getting emotional. I was actually having air I needed to get rid of. Sorry. Well, that was maybe too real for you. Okay. Now, anyway, thank you and take care, and blah 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 and so on. All right. I'm gonna go now.